It is the story of time. It is the story of power. It is the story of politics. It is Bisi Akande's story. Bisi Akande is a former governor of Osun State. He has been around. On this edition of State Affairs, we want to delve into Bisi Akande's politics. Chief Bisi Akande, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
And how are you?
Well, I'm well. I feel good every day. People say I'm aging.
So do you feel you are aging?
I feel the same every day, except that the joints are becoming weak and the body is becoming sluggish.
You are 86 now.
Oh, yes.
And then you look good.
Well, I don't know. It's in your look.
You still play politics?
When you are in politics, you are in it forever. You play it until the last day. Because the politics is an art of serving people. And when you are born to serve, you must serve till the last day. You may not play partisan politics actively anymore, but you still play politics of your people. You believe in certain things, and there are others who believe in what you believe. And you have to defend their cause, and you must be with them, give them courage, give them, show passion, and show empathy.
Studying your autobiography,
thank you.
Should I say you reluctantly came into politics?
Well, I didn't know there was politics. I don't know what politics was. But I think I was born into some controversies, and I was living in them, and I grew into them, and it introduces me into what is now called politics.
You're going to the Constituent Assembly.
Yes.
Was vital to unraveling the political personality of Bisi Akande, right?
I would think so, because before then I was Bisi Akande of Ilaoragun, and I look at places around Ilaoragun, and I want Ilaoragun to be livable, to be comfortable for people to live. And I looked at Ilaoragun of my growing up. I look at Ilaoragun of my parentage, in which both myself, my grandparents, and some of my siblings were living in the same room with mama's goats, mama's dog, mama's cat, and chicken.
For real?
Yes, in the same room, and there is no window in that room. So that is the house in which I was raised. And it was a house to me until when I'm grown up and I begin to look back and I say, oh, was I living like a human being? Well, that was the belief of my, grandparents. That shows me that without education, man is not better than animal. In our room, we sleep on the mat. It is in our room that our goats will sleep with us. It is in that room that our dogs will sleep with us. And it is in the same room that our cats will sleep, and our chicken will roost there. So we thought it was normal life. That was the condition under which I was raised.
In Ilaoragun?
In Ilaoragun.
And Ilaoragun also sent you to the Constituent Assembly?
Oh yes, I grew up there. I went to the primary school there.
And when you got to the Constituent Assembly,
yes,
you saw naked politics in action?
Oh yes, I see people whose names I hear or I read in the newspapers, and people who talks about money, who talks about power, who talks about, some will call me for breakfast, some will invite me for dinner, some, I started seeing how power was being played in its naked form.
Naked form.
Yes, because I come from the village where we live, ordinary, simple life. And I come to see people, living large, with all kinds of... I remember driving in one's car from Badagry to the satellite town where we were living. And I almost landed in the hospital because he was smoking cigar. I didn't know it was the cigar that was giving me trouble. But I remember, I was having problem. I was in an air-conditioned car. I had never been in an air-conditioned car before then. I was in an air-conditioned car, and he was putting a cigar there, burning the cigar, and the smell was making me go round and round and round. I started complaining, but when we got, as he was trying to take me to the hospital, we said, okay, let's branch, in the satellite town to take one or two things. As he opened the door and I came out of that, I became well. So I discovered that it was the cigar that was giving me a problem.
While reading your book,
yes,
this is the book I am talking about. My Participation, an Autobiography by Chief Bisi Akande. I don't know the book you have read, but if you've not read Chief Bisi Akande's book, then you are missing out on the lessons of politics and power. You are also missing out on the lessons of history. The depth of the work is refreshing. So I recommend this book to you. Read this book. Why reading your book? The base of your politics was in the Second Republic.
yes,
That was what unraveled Chief Bisi Akande as a man of power.
if you say so.
And Bola Ige is critical to that.
Oh, yes, very critical.
You joined the UPN.
Yes,
Bola Ige won the primaries
yes.
of the UPN. But winning that primary became controversial,
yes,
right?
yes.
Why did Bola Ige run against Alayande?
Because law never prescribes who you run with or you run against. You are interested in a position, law stipulates how you run, and it doesn't mention names of people you will run against or you run with. So Bola Ige took a form, not knowing that Alayande will take a form. But it turned out that the two of them took a form. Not only two of them, Omishade took a form, Senator Adeoye from Ogbomoso took a form. Several of them took forms. But as the race was going on, some of them were withdrawing from the race. But at the end, we had only Bola Ige and Alayande in the race.
And Bola Ige won the election.
Oh yeah, very well. He won with 107 against 13.
And you suggested here that despite that clear victory, many still hold it against Bola Ige for not respecting age and for not being loyal to the leader, Obafemi Awolowo.
Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, they are politically unreasonable, because nothing says you cannot run against anybody. What's wrong if Bola Ige ran against Awolowo? What says I could not run against Awolowo?
Was Alayande Awolowo's candidate?
No one would know. It's possible for Awolowo to have a bent for Alayande, and it's possible Alayande is an age group of Awolowo, and he can have a bent. He could have a bent for him, or he might not. So there's no way we can know. But Alayande was an Awolowo's political mate in the First Republic. They are of the same age. That doesn't make a younger person not to run against an old person.
Did Awolowo try to influence the primary election?
No. No. He presided over the rule of the game. And then the rule was set. And we went into the field to vote.
How did Afolabi come? How did Afolabi become the deputy to Bola Ige?
That's a very good story. You know, Afolabi too picked a form.
Yes.
Afolabi was running for the governorship. We went to a meeting at Okeho, and we thought that whoever was the chairman of the party in the state would be the governorship candidate.
And Bola Ige was watching.
We didn't know, we just thought, we assumed. And as soon as they asked who would be the chairman, somebody nominated Afolabi, somebody supported, and by acclamation we put Afolabi, on the throne as the chairman, not knowing that there was no constitution then. We were then a party in formation, we were a party in the formation, and we just went as an association to Okeho, and we put Afolabi. So the focus of us in Osun was that Afolabi would be the governor. But
at that time, Afolabi was your leader.
Oh, he was my leader from Osun, and I supported him. I didn't even know Ige.
But Bola Ige was in that meeting.
He was at the meeting. After the nomination and the election of Afolabi as the chairman, before we left, Bola Ige quickly said, we can't run a party without money. And he moved that we should donate money to support the Afolabi's chairmanship.
I donated 200 naira?
I donated 200 naira. When money was good, the rest of us were donating 10 naira, 5 naira, So that made them, significant. Before another meeting, we were seeing the direction. Bola Ige was a lawyer. He was a lawyer for a number of people in the Ibadan area. Was a lawyer for a number of people in Oyo and Oyo North. And he comes from Ijisha land. So before we know it, almost half of the state was saying, oh, Bola Ige was my lawyer, the man I'm going to support. So we knew there was no way Afolabi could win the election. So we persuaded him. We truly persuaded him, And we set up an emissary to meet Bola Ige with the Osun people. Go and meet Bola Ige and ask, can we be your running mate? And he said, yes, he can be number one and number two at the same time. He accepted to be number one and for Afolabi to be number two. So Afolabi's people had to merge with Bola Ige's people to work against Alayende's people. And the defeat was decisive, 107-13. The defeat was decisive.
It was an electoral college.
Oh, yeah, it was an electoral college. It was an electoral college.
So after that defeat of Alayande, it was clear that Bola Ige was on his way to Agodi government house.
Well, we didn't know we would win the real election because MPN was strong too, until we got to the field and we defeated MPN.
Because the way he defeated,
word for word.
It was landslide defeat against.
Landslide. We didn't expect it was going to be that, but it was. And that's where, the charisma of Awolowo came in.
The charisma of Awolowo.
The charisma of Awolowo, won us that election. All over Yoruba land, we clear everything.
And Bola Ige loved Awolowo.
Oh, Bola Ige was Awolowo's lackey. Bola Ige was Awolowo's lackey. He respected him a lot, and he talks about him a lot.
He became governor.
Yes.
And you were ready to go back to British Petroleum.
Oh, I wasn't ready to be in government at all. I didn't contest election, and I didn't think I was going to be appointed to any position.
But why will you fight for somebody to be governor, and after victory, you just wanted to go back to work?
Oh, I had my people in the House of Assembly, and I think they will ask me if there are people to be selected to government. My job was so good that I had no attraction to go to government at all. I mean, an example was that when I came to be secretary to government, I came to earn less than 25% of what I was earning in the oil company.
And that became frustrating at some point.
Oh, yes. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. But people say, oh, you get honor and you are looking for money. If you get money, what are you going to buy with it? Is it not the same honor? So blackmail kind of I had to accept.
So when Bola Ige told you were going to be the secretary to the state government,
I was dazed because I never had an inkling. He just said, Bisi, you are welcome. Hope you are not too tired. You have been appointed secretary to government. Will you start tomorrow morning? I mean, I didn't even know what secretary to government was to do. I can't remember entering the secretariat, the government secretariat, more than a few times before then. I don't know what's the function of a secretary to government. I know people talk of commissioner. It was like a dream. Push it to me, you want to be, I have appointed you secretary to government, and will you start tomorrow morning?
He didn't even give you the option to say yes or no?
No. Then before I had time to say anything, before I gathered myself together and say anything, they said, oh, let's go to the meeting. Everybody was waiting for us. And we all went to a meeting. And after the prayer, they just announced the secretary to government had been appointed. Everybody was jubilating, congratulating me. And I said, what's happening? Like a house of madness. I can't understand what was happening. So my head was just spinning.
By this time, you'd not even told your wife.
I have not ever told my employer. I have my children in school in Lagos. My life is not around here at all.
It was the first time you were going to leave your family after 14 years of
didn't
marriage.
know I was going to leave there. I was still struggling to find a way of saying I won't be able to accept the job.
You eventually accepted
Well,
it.
eventually I had no. I had to go and secretly put a letter to my managing director that I'm being appointed this, and asking them to give me the kind of support they gave me when I was going to the Constituent Assembly.
This was a man you met in 1978 for the first time,
yes.
as you stated in your autobiography.
Yes. Yes.
And by 1979, he was handing a responsibility to you that was overwhelming.
Yes.
Did you ever ask him why he picked you?
Honestly, I didn't, but in 1994, he was presiding over a wedding at which he announced that he was asked to pick me by Chief Awolowo.
By Chief Awolowo?
Yes, I didn't know what Awolowo saw.
You know, you've had a meeting with Awolowo before that election.
Yes, I had the initial meeting, and I was meeting him at party meetings and so on, and sometimes at party job, I was member of some committees and so on.
You became a critical member of the Bola Ige cabinet.
Yes.
You became a Bola Ige man.
Because I trusted him and I loved him.
You loved him.
I loved him. I know that's people who appreciated that.
Why did you love him?
He's a leader. Maybe in my own way of assessing a leader, he is an absolute leader. Bola Ige will be angry with you, and you are angry back, and you argue, and by the time you see your point of argument, he surrenders. Let me give you an example. We were to appoint the Owa of Elisha. We go to a meeting. The argument was that no, it should be one Bepo, and if you put it to vote, it will be Bepo. So one day, Bola Ige just called me to a room and said, why are you after this Bepo? Do you think Ijisha land, with all that kind of educated people, will prefer Bepo with very little education to others with, Then we said, that's the person we like. And after talking to me and letting me see the enormity of what the responsibility of an hour would be and the kind of education that it will involve, I saw a sense. And I said, oh, this man had a reason why he was adjourning. We adjourned the meeting about 5-6 times before we arrived at Aromalara.
Interesting.
Because Bepo was a politician. He was a leader of UPN in Nigeria. And that's the only thing in our brain that, this is one of our own. He must be the Owa of Elisha. But the way Bola was thinking was that, Ijapu, are a big lot, and that they should have very well-educated people in their leadership.
So he was intellectually engaging.
Yes.
Was a deep thinker.
That's the kind of thing I like him. He will engage you. He won't order you, go and do it. That's the way I want it. Some of us won't even agree.
Some of you won't agree?
Oh, no. Like me, I will resign.
You even wrote a resignation letter?
Oh, yeah, I did once. I won't agree. But you need to convince me. You can't, it's not a correct job like they do now. The governor just call a commissioner and say, go and steal from me, and he will go and steal.
Like they do now?
Like they do now.
But like he didn't do that?
No, he won't do that. He will be ready to argue with you. And when you show him, Mr. Governor, this is not right. This is the way to do it. With empathy, he will agree with you and say, okay, that's the way we should do it.
No, when you submitted your resignation letter, the way he came to you and asked, Bisi, what's going on?
What have I done wrong? What gave rise to this? I was disarmed.
Yes, because he was so humble.
Yes.
I said, governor approaching.
Yeah. No, not even that. He sent the deputy governor to run after me. And that one met me at home. I was already packing my little things to drive back to Lagos. And that one said, Bisi, what's wrong? And I said, well, the governor wants me to attend a meeting, and I won't attend that meeting. And to disobey your governor, you must resign from his government. So the deputy governor said, okay, let's meet the governor.
Are you a proud person?
No, I'm not.
The way you took that decision about the location of the College of Education in Ilarogun.
I'm a self-respecting person.
But you should have consulted the governor.
Maybe at that time I didn't think that way. I'm not saying I didn't overreact.
Okay.
I agree entirely that I overreacted. But there was no time, for me to be saying, look, not that I prefer anywhere to the other, but I didn't want just a decision to be taken by fiat. I want the decision to be looked at, to be debated, and whichever be the agreeable point to be supported.
And Bola Ige later agreed with your position.
No, we never debated it, but I know I will be overwhelmed that the meeting he was calling me into. It will be one-sided meeting. They all came from home and they wanted me to be among them. And when they begin to shout, only one voice against many. And the governor will feel, that was the voice of the people.
You wrote here on page 149.
Yeah.
You said since Awolowo left the saddle in 1959, no one had served the people of the old Oyo State as Bola Ige did. That's a strong statement.
Oh, yes. I gave reasons. Awolowo served the Yoruba land, including Oyo State, most importantly by introducing free education at the primary level. Bola Ige agreed with the other leaders under Awolowo to extend this free education to secondary school level and religiously follow the decision of the party to see it done. And it was perfectly done. Most of who today are in great places, and when they meet me anywhere, they say, oh, that your government of Bola Ige made me a doctor, made me a lawyer. So Bola Ige did a lot to put his name in the annals of history. Oyo State.
When you were describing how contractors bidded for contracts to build schools, at some point I just closed my eyes to imagine the power of the mind of that cabinet that felt education was key to development. And you stated clearly that more than 90 schools were built.
90? No. About 752 schools were built.
752 schools?
Yes, were built.
By the Bola Ige administration?
Secondary schools, yes.
That was education revolution?
Yes, most of which are still in the villages. Past between Iwo and Osogbo, you see some of them by the roadside. In your Ishayin area, you see many of them are still standing. The houses are there, more beautiful than the rest of the houses around in the village.
But Chief Akande,
yes.
You just came and told the contractors, we are paying 24,500.
Oh, yes.
Take it or leave it.
Yes.
Just like that.
They
After you have raised their expectation of 90,000.
They lynched me. I never raised their expectation. What happened was that I didn't know what the civil servants had done. The civil servants suggested it would cause that. That's what is in the book. I didn't know about that. People tendered, not knowing that they have seen what is in the book. But when we saw it, the kind of arithmetic we had, our budget for 10 years can't pay for it. We won't do free education. And the civil servant wrote a memoir, and presented to all that. It was impossible to do the free education. So the cost of infrastructure alone was enough to intimidate us. So I visited 2 schools, and I saw them building parent-teachers association schools, and they were building a classroom for 4,000. So if they are building a classroom for 4,000, a block of 6 classrooms will be 24, and I add 1 to it. I read finance as a young man, and if it could be done in Ishei, and I know it was in Awe and Oshubu, why shouldn't it be done all over Oyo State?
That was strategic. That was management of scarce resources.
Oh, well, yeah, at least whatever thing you call it, that's what is absent today, that is bringing Nigeria down.
It's bringing Nigeria down.
Oh, it's bringing it down.
Nigeria is coming down.
Oh, we know it's down. It's already gone before Bola Tinubu came. Nigeria was already gone. After borrowing all international money, after borrowing all Nigerian money, and you can't get to borrow again, you start, cutting notes, what you call ways and means, to the extent of about 30 trillion. That country is gone. Nigeria is already gone, not down.
It's gone.
It's gone. We are only trying to see if we can retrieve it.
I will come to that.
Yes.
You said Bola Ige would not suffer fools gladly.
No, he won't.
And would not hesitate to give anyone the length of his tongue.
Yes.
Did he give you the length of his tongue?
Many times, even in writing.
He will give it to you.
Yes. Then I give it back, and he tolerates.
And he tolerates?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
You give it back?
Oh yes, many times. In fire.
In fire?
Oh yes.
He will read it?
Oh yes.
And tolerate?
Sometimes after ding dong, fire going up and down, he will say, okay, come to council. Then we go to cabinet to argue it. That's why he is my leader any day.
Looking at you from a distance, yeah, you would say Chief Akande is quiet.
I am.
Are you? Professor Shoyinka here said that he noticed one common word.
Yeah.
You always look into the eyes of people.
Like anybody, because I'm a human being, he's a human being.
Because you give it back to Bola Ige.
Oh yes.
You can't be quiet to give it back to Bola Ige.
No, I won't be rude. I want to be respectful. He's an elderly person, but he's always, he feels irritated quickly about something stupid that appears to him stupid. And when I see it, I say, oh, look, it's the governor that is stupid, but I won't say so. And I will tell him, Mr. Governor, look at this page of the file. Look at another page of another file. You said this here, you said this here. So how does it tally with what you are saying now? In view of all these, this is the way I think we should go. So when he receives it, he will say, either he calls you to his office and say, Bisi, okay, what do you want us to do about these things?
He was humble.
He's a leader indeed. He loves to argue.
Now, you listed the number of commissioners in that cabinet.
Oh, yes.
And you also made a statement that some of them loved Bola Ige.
Oh, yes.
While others were competitors.
Oh, yes.
And towards 1982, the government began to unravel.
Yeah.
Political intrigues started to play out.
I was lost in it because I didn't know, I didn't understand the politics quickly.
You didn't understand it quickly?
No, not quickly. One even argued with me among the commissioners and said, I think you are not part of us. which was true because I was doing my job. I didn't know that kind of intrigue before then.
You said that Adelakun was the problem.
Oh, he wanted to be deputy to anybody, even to the devil.
To the devil?
He's prepared to be, whoever would make him deputy, he was ready to support.
So why did Bola Ige appoint Busari Adelakun into that cabinet? Because you kept saying the most feared Ibadan politician. You repeated it in the course of your storytelling.
Yes.
And Bola Ige brought in that politician into his cabinet.
Before we got to cabinet, I didn't know Busari Adelakun. But Bola Ige and Busari Adelakun must have been friends. He was Busari Adelakun's lawyer at some points. So they must have known each other well before I knew them. And I knew Chief Awolowo was not in favor of Adelakun becoming a commissioner. And I knew of a fact that Awolowo advised Bola Ige to make Adelakun something like chairman, pilgrim board, or something like that, carrying people to Mecca. But Bola Ige felt, yes, he could be able to be in cabinet. I can't question his judgment. He has made him, a member of cabinet. But he became the most undoing of Bola Ige in cabinet.
How? How did he become the undoing, or the most undoing?
He's rigid. He's not educated. And he wants to be, whatever anybody could be, no matter what your education.
He was that ambitious?
He must be ambitious.
And was desperate?
He was desperate. He was everything put together. I told you he wanted to be deputy to anybody.
To even Afolabi?
To Afolabi, to Mishade, to Bola Ige, to everybody. Anybody that can say, you will be my running mate, he was ready to support.
At what point did the government begin to unravel?
You said that the government? Whose
yes,
government?
The Bola Ige government.
Began to?
Yes, to unravel these political intrigues. At what point?
Bola must have known before me. But what I did know was that there was going to be creation of local governments. And there have been lots of arguments about where should be local government. And we say, okay, look, a principle must be adopted. A local government must not split a House of Assembly constituency. That you can put 2 constituencies within one local government. You can put 4 within one local government. But you can't split, a House of Assembly constituency between 2 local governments. When that became the matter, we say, Adelakun, go and apply it. So he brought a recommendation.
He was the commissioner of local government.
He was the commissioner for local government. And he brought a recommendation which we all approved. And local government was created. But a problem started in Modakeke. Modakeke was a 3-ward within the Onamiyan local government. And before we came, I think the military must have created something. And there had been some, mismatch. But the INEC created, they call it FEDECO then, created constituencies. And Modakeke was not a constituency of its own. Therefore, Modakeke could not have a local government of its own. Because of the principle. The principle is that a constituency should not be split between 2 local governments. That was the principle. But Modakeke wasn't a constituency of its own. It was part of a constituency. So it had to be a local government within that. So we made Modakeke part of several other constituencies, maybe 2 or 3 constituencies that makes up Ife Central or Ife something local government.
And Modakeke did not like that?
Well, the underlying factor was historical and grave. Even if we considered it, we won't be able to have a principle to resolve it as at that time.
And that issue also reared its head again when you became governor of Osun State.
Not that it reared again. It was never resolved then. It was never resolved for 20 years before I came back as a governor. So what I did, was to create an area council for Modakeke by making it 1/3 of Ife East, and say the allocation coming from Abuja for Ife East should be split into 3. 30% should be given to Modakeke Area Council.
Did he solve the problem?
Well, since then, no problem. Since then, that was the end of it.
But how did the violence at that time, how did it make you feel as governor of Osun State?
It was disturbing me a lot. I had to run to Obasanjo and beg him to come and intervene, to come and help me resolve it. The reason was that the Alaafin of Oyo, the Awujale of Ijebu-Ode, Adesekola Alao of Ibadan, they were all behind Modakeke, and they were outside my own state. So I needed somebody who can help me to talk to them.
Why were they behind Modakeke?
I don't know, because Modakeke is an Oyo town. So Alaafin believed, and he wrote down.
Interesting.
Modakeke felt it's not Ife. Alaafin felt Modakeke is Oyo. And Alaafin felt that Ife was persecuting Oyo within its territory. And Alaafin, you know how to employ the support of Awujale, of Adesekola, and so on, to bail out Modakeke out of the problem. And it became, a terrible problem.
It almost marred your administration.
No, nobody can pass through my state. Some people were killed on their journey through the state. Some strangers passing through the state. So everybody was avoiding my state. It couldn't allow us to govern. It couldn't allow business. It couldn't allow, It was a terrible situation.
But does that speak of the kind of politics we play? Because it reared its head during Bola Ige's era.
Yeah, it started well before Bola Ige was born. The problem had been since about 1870, 1880.
And we could not solve it for many years.
It was not resolved until Bola Ige came. But what brought it out during Bola Ige was the creation of local government. And the military couldn't resolve it for 20 years before Bola Ige's time and my time.
But you resolved it?
Oh, yes, God helped me to resolve it.
Adelakun was the problem.
And was part of the problem.
Later, it became Sunday Afolabi.
I think Sunday Afolabi had his own ambition, quite different from Adelakun's ambition. They appear to be friendly, but one was evil against the other.
Sunday Afolabi was the deputy governor.
Was the deputy governor. Adelakun wanted to become deputy governor. So Sunday Adelakun wanted to be governor. Sunday Afolabi wanted to be governor. Adelakun would say, okay, be governor, so that I can be your deputy. Or be out of the way, let me be the governor, the deputy to Ige. Or both of you be out of the way, let me be deputy to Omishore. That was Adelakun's position. And Afolabi, Omishore, and Adelakunn. Omishade, sorry. Afolabi, Omishade, and Adelakunn were friendly against Ige.
Did Ige realize this on time?
Oh, he knew all along. He knew better than we knew. I didn't know in time. He knew earlier than I knew.
So why did he keep quiet for that long?
Well, he's an elderly person. And the way an elderly person will handle an issue is quite different from the way of the youth. Honestly, I didn't know in time. But when I knew, and I let him know that I knew, the way he reacted showed me that he knew a long time before me.
And that caused a crisis within the UPN.
It caused a big crisis all over the places.
You wrote here, I want to read from your book.
Yeah.
Let's read from page 365.
Yeah.
This is the book in question. You told the story, 365. Yes. I'm coming. You said, the man who came hunting for us was President Olusegun Obasanjo.
Yes.
Ige's friend for many years, who became our relentless foe. He and Ige met in the late 1960s, when both of them served in the government of then Colonel Adeyika Adebayo, the second military ruler of the Old West. Since then, Obasanjo had dogged Ige's path like an evil spirit. Evil spirit.
Yeah.
Why did you use evil spirit?
Because I know they appear in the open to be friendly.
But behind the scene,
it's a different matter.
You said during his reign as military head of state, Ige gave him a wide berth. Yet Obasanjo would not disappear from Ige's part. The evil spirit was lurking around, right? In 1982, it was Obasanjo's unsolicited intervention into the crisis in the Oyo State UPN that led to the Night of Long Knives in Yola.
Yes.
Tell us the story.
Yes, it was an interesting story. I was coming from Cuba. I met a friend, Jim Wobodo, in Spain, and persuaded me to wait to watch the World Cup, football game between I think Brazil and one other, maybe Brazil and Germany, I can't remember now. So we watched the ball and Germany defeated Brazil. So I angrily left Spain and I slept. I decided to sleep in Britain with a view to coming back to Nigeria. As I was trying to unpack or resting in my hotel, a phone rang. It was Baba Adewale Thompson. And he said, "Oh, I'm in London. Do you know where Chief Awolowo is?" Honestly, I didn't know. And I let him know I was just arriving in London, but that I should find out for him. I called Segun Osoba. Segun Osoba told me where Awolowo is.
Segun Osoba was a journalist there.
He was a journalist there. And I gave it to Papa Adewale Thompson, the address. And Segun Osoba told me Awolowo was a guest of the British government, and that Papa Adewale Thompson should keep the address on a wrap. So Adewale Thompson went to Baba Chief Awolowo. As he was coming back, he asked for me, and he met me in my hotel and said, "There is something dangerous happening." I said, "What's happening?" He said, "Lady Adebayo came to Awolowo with a letter written, from home, that Bola Ige and Afolabi attended a meeting at the instance of Obasanjo, at which Kam Salem, somebody from Maiduguri, can I remember now, Mungono, and some other big names in the MPN were present. And they were asking Bola Ige, Afolabi, to let Bola Ige contest as governor, so that he will eventually take over from Shagari, and so that the two of them should allow Shagari to win again against Awolowo. That kind of, I don't know what to call it now, mischief anyway. It never happened. All those things never happened. But it's a lie and written in a letter to Chief Awolowo. So they showed the letter to Papa Adewale Thompson. And Adewale, was shivering and came to me and said, "Come and see what's happening." They said, "Bola Ige went to a meeting at which Ali Mongono, Kam Salem, everybody, all these were, MPN something. And the decision was that Bola Ige and Afolabi should allow Shagari to win again against Awolowo, so that Bola too will be allowed to win, and Afolabi will have to succeed Bola, while Bola will now succeed Shagari." So when Papa Adewale Thompson told me the story, I was worried myself, because I knew that the day I was going to Cuba, I left Bola Ige in Ila Orangun with the Orangun of Ila. And as I was entering Ire, I saw SM of Afolabi driving to his house. And I was running to Lagos to catch my flight. And the date they say was about that date. it doesn't appear true to me. So I changed my flight that evening. I decided to return to Nigeria. I arrived early in the morning to meet Bola Ige. And I told him, this is what I had. He got worried. And he told me, yes, there was truly a meeting. It was Obasanjo, SM Afolabi, and himself, only 3 of them, that they met somewhere at Bodija here. And that the meeting never started until about 9 p.m. And that he had nothing to say other than Obasanjo begging Afolabi to allow him to contest and for Afolabi to run with him for another term. And because of what Obasanjo was saying suited him, he didn't have anything to say than to thank them. But they weave, lie around his neck so as to cause a problem between him and Awolowo and so on.
Interesting.
So, when I told him, he told me that story, and I left. But immediately he took his pen and wrote to Awolowo about the meeting and what transpired. So the letter was delivered to Awolowo by hand about the same day or second day. Immediately Awolowo got that letter, he phoned Afolabi. I understand there is a meeting with Obasanjo. Let me have a version, your own version of the meeting in writing. If possible, put the letter at home for me. Afolabi didn't write. He might not be able to write.
He might not be able to write.
Because, he's not that vast. He may not be educated enough to write. So he didn't write. But the letter was leaked to the press.
Bola Ige's letter?
No.
Or the previous one?
The mischievous letter.
Who wrote that letter?
I don't know, but Lady Adebayo, delivered it. It was a letter written maybe by Omishade, and Adelakun, or by Adebayo himself, Lady Adebayo himself. But Lady Adebayo delivered the letter to Awolowo.
And hell was let loose.
And hell was let loose. So there was party leaders in Yola. Well, we don't even know it was going to be a big thing. Bola Ige said this year and myself, we traveled to Yola as party leaders only. And we got to that meeting to see that plain loads of people were coming from all places. Supporters bowed, making a noise around the whole place, trying to blackmail Bola Ige as being anti-Awolowo. Who
were the arrowheads of this campaign?
Adelakun, of course. But all the others joined, like Odunjo, like Omabori Owo, like SM Afolabi, it's a concourse anyway.
The intention was to make sure that UPN denied Bola Ige a second-term ticket.
Oh, yes. Because they wanted the same denial to be given to Ajasin and to be given to Bisi Akande in Abeokuta.
And Awolowo listened carefully.
Oh, he listened. People, so about 23 people contributed to debate. I have a minute of the meeting. They contributed to debate. Jakande even moved a motion that Bola Ige and Afolabi should be removed from the party.
Jakande was the governor of Lagos State.
Oh, yes.
He moved the motion.
He moved that motion.
Why did he do that?
Oh, because, it's part of the intrigue of leadership. He moved the motion that the 2 of them should be expelled from the party.
Was the motion seconded?
I can't remember what happened before Chief Awolowo intervened. But Chief Awolowo intervened by making long statements and remember all that the 2 of them had done for him when things were very bad in the First Republic. And he said he was certain, the 2 of them were not the way they were branding them. but that it was unfortunate for the two of them to allow, and because everybody knows, it is certain from their statement, from Bola Ige's letter, that a meeting was held. That Afolabi and Bola Ige and Obasanjo were at the meeting. But it was not certain whether the other people were there. It was not certain whether what they said they agreed upon was agreed upon. And Chief Awolowo was able to unravel all this.
And at that time, many felt that Obasanjo was Awolowo's enemy.
Oh, Obasanjo never hid that. Obasanjo wrote in his book, he said it everywhere, that Awolowo was his enemy.
And this was an Awolowo loyalist going to settle an issue with...
So Awolowo felt, don't scatter my loyalists because somebody who is not part of us. That's the conclusion of what Awolowo did.
And Bola Ige survived that night. He survived. At what point did SM Afolabi resign from the government?
Oh, when we came back to do a primary. At the primary, he came third or something, or fourth, I can't remember. Bola Ige won. So he deflected.
Were you expecting to be nominated as the deputy governor?
Oh no, I didn't even dream it. I was at home, being made a chief. I was in my village, being made a chief. So it was the last day of my being made. I didn't know how it happened. Noise everywhere. What's happening? When they came, they told me it's being announced on the radio that I was being made, that the House of Assembly has approved unanimously that I was the deputy governor. So the trouble, I started another problem of running from fire to fry pan.
Bola Ige loved you.
Oh,
he loved you.
And I love him too.
Because from your story here, I could see a leader who loved Bisi Akande.
Indeed.
It is history we are telling. It's an autobiography, but it's a book of history. An autobiography and a book of history.